So so the workbench that we're going to do today, I didn't have any good tech stuff, but me and Eddie have been fighting. Well, mostly Eddie. I look over his shoulder and point at it and tell him what to do. What? That one?
You can look at me.
I'll make love to the camera. So we've been fighting with the Serger all week because it was out of time. Yeah, it's been a disaster. We almost have it. But it brings up a point that I run into a lot, and this is kind of gets away from the actual machine tech, but a lot of times people come in and say, I want a serger. And my tip of the week is, do you really need a serger?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah, sometimes, yes. But I have a lot of people that are quilting and they think, I need a serger because all their friends say you need a serger, or you go online and you need a serger.
For quilting?
I don't know. People just like, I want a serger. And then I ask them, what are you going to use it for? I don't know. I was just told they need a serger. And I would say sergers, I'm not saying sergers are bad, but keep in mind sergers are a one-trick pony. They do one thing and they do it well. They finish the edges. That's all they do.
Hello.
Pillows, yes.
Yeah, anytime you want to have a finished edge, actually a serger cuts
it, yep.
Cuts it in, finishes off at the same time.
Yes, and you can, there's actually stitches on your machine that will finish the edge similar to a serger. It's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. But what I'm saying is
and they take forever.
It's a very specific one-trick pony. So unless you're going to spend over $2,000 and up on a serger, you got to really get into the fancy sergers. Serger technology hasn't changed in the last 20 years. And my recommendation, and this is what I always tell people when they come in looking for a serger.
This is surged.
Yes, that's surged. But you're gonna put a seam around that and finish it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not as important as people make it sound. But what I was trying to get at,
if you're doing a bathing suit, you really need a serger.
Yeah, for some materials. I'm not saying you don't need a serger.
Knits.
That's what I'm saying. So you've got a very specific time when you need it. So think about that when you say, I want to go buy a serger. What are you going to use it for? Because what you're going to find, and this is my tip I give everybody, because like I said, serger technology hasn't changed in the last 20 years for the most part. If you get into the big fancy one, yeah, whatever the baby lock monster is awesome. And if you really want a serger, that's the way to go. But you can find sergers used because people have them in their basement and then put them online all the time. And the technology hasn't changed enough. For the 2 times a year you're going to use it, pick it up for $50 on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist.
I used it a lot when I was making masks because it cuts and finishes the edges. But my bummer was you always had to have 4 cones all the same color.
Yeah, and
you can't, you know.
And that's and honestly,
you
what you're going to find, the
same
reason
color.
that a lot of people don't use their sergers as much as they should, or they could, is that unless you spend the ungodly amounts on a serger, they're a pain in the butt to thread, and then to troubleshoot and get running properly. There's a huge learning curve to it. So unless you're using it a lot, it's not a machine you just sit down and go with. And so what you're going to find is if you get a serger, you're probably not going to use it nearly as much as you think you will.
Well, if you're making clothes, you probably will.
But you've got to be using it a lot. It's not like a weekend warrior type thing because of like I said, there's a learning curve and a certain level of expertise. So my tip for tonight is just like really think about it if you're going to get a serger because
if you're making anything knit, a serger.
Oh yeah,
if you're working
yeah.
with knits, a serger. And I've seen somebody, and like you said earlier, I probably would go, no way. Actually use it to put the binding on the first time so that their quilt cuts nice and tidy while they're applying the binding for the they do it right on the serger.
And no way, because I'd be so worried about going off to this and just
chopping it off.
But I'm just saying, one of the things to consider is if you are thinking of a serger, ask yourself what you're going to do with it, because keep in mind, like I said, unless you're going to be using it enough that you're comfortable with the threading and comfortable with the troubleshooting of it, you're going to find that you're going to buy it, it's going to stay in a box, and then you're going to bring it into me in about 3 years' time when you realize you've never used it, and ask me if I can sell it for you or if I'll take it and trade on a machine. I get used sergers through here in fact, I got one right now. Somebody's looking for a serger. We have used sergers all the time. I very rarely sell them new because, like I said, I'm not going to, brother sergers aren't anything to write home about. They get the job done, but like I said, technology really hasn't changed. If you're going to spend money, get a Juki or get a baby lock.
I think I got mine because I was making lots of costumes.
Yeah.
So I was working with.
Yeah, and so you had a very specific thing that you're using it for. Yeah, you're using it, and it's very specific what you need it for. And then when you get out of those projects, now, are you going to go home and sit down and fight with your serger to do something that you could probably get away with a simple stitch on your machine with?
Mostly I'm just doing quilting now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is really evaluate what you're gonna use it for, because it's a one-trick pony. If you're not gonna use it what it's intended for, it's one of those tools that's just gonna collect a lot of dust. And
What's
that's,
it intended for?
what's that?
Surgery.
Finishing edges,
Just
yeah.
doing
So
this.
basically pillowcases, that's about it.
If you, yeah, unless you're gonna, if you're gonna do a lot of
Knits,
clothing, it makes sense,
anything
yeah.
with knits,
If you're doing a lot of
anything with
clothing,
knits,
it might
it's a
it makes
must.
sense to get one, but like I said, it's, the era of
Okay.
making clothes at home is, it's cheaper to buy it.
Well, it's personal though.
Yeah, but it's also cheaper to go pick it up at the thrift store and then customize it. That's way more fun.
Okay.